When Sputnik left its Russian home, it began an incredibly fast journey west across the Mediterranean, passing over Jerusalem. Then it sailed over Africa and the Sahara Desert. Then over the wide southern Atlantic Ocean and across vast Antarctica. Then up over Mexico. And then it entered America, passing right over Houston.
This is Radio Moscow, and here is the news.
Our satellite Sputnik lifted at 22 hours 28 minutes Moscow time and entered orbit around the Earth.
The first artificial Earth satellite in the world has now been created. This first satellite was today.
It emanates radio signals every 3/10 of a second, charting its course as it streaks across the sky.
Radio signals can be picked up on 20 and 40 megacycles as it circles the Earth once every...
We announce to the world that anyone with a shortwave radio can listen to Sputnik.
This is Harry Thankballman recording.
This is the satellite, October 1957, coming in on 20 megacycles.
Steve Sheff, Levittown, Long Island, reporting to the world that I am hearing it.
Meaning softer, dying now, out of our range. Another ham's got to pick us up.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are bringing to you the most important story of this century, mankind's breakthrough into space. For the first time, mankind has reached for the stars and found them within his grasp.
The Westinghouse Broadcasting Company filmed the first motion pictures of the Russian satellite. You are about to witness this historic event.
Now here is a photograph released by the Soviets of the satellite, and this is a track of what you will see in the lower half of your television screen. So be sure that you watch very, very carefully. There it is.
I see it.
About in the center of the screen in the lower third.
You got on the side.
We moved the camera. Camera was moved there.
Now you start over again.
Now we start over again, and the stars are in the background. This is a photograph of a monitor screen. There's the object.
Across the bottom.
Across the bottom.
Remarkable.
About in the middle of the screen now, I would say.
That is wonderful, isn't it? Yes.
Right now it's north of Auckland, New Zealand, and moving southeast. It will be, in 10 minutes, about 1,500 miles north of Little America, and in about 24 minutes it will be over Santiago, Chile, and in about 50 minutes from now it will be over Spain.
It was cold and clear. We could see the Milky Way shimmering across the sky. I stood in my front yard, my family with me. The entire neighborhood, the entire city, in fact, the entire nation, it seemed, was standing outside, watching what the Russians had done.
Just at the time the Russians had said, a tiny light appeared at the southwestern horizon and glided over our heads. Some of us cried. I stood in awe.
Nothing man-made had ever been so global. Everyone knew it was there. Suddenly, a future in space seemed possible.
And now back tonight and trying for $20,000 are Eddie Hodges, the 10-year-old schoolboy, and his partner, Major John Glenn Jr., the Marine Corps jet pilot. What do you think of the Russian satellite, which is circling the Earth at 18,000 miles per hour?
Well, to say the least, George, they're out of this world, but... This is really quite an advancement for not only the Russians, but for international science. I think we'd all agree on that. It's the first time anybody has ever been able to get anything out that far in space and keep it there for any length of time. And this is probably the first step toward space travel or moon travel, something we'll probably run into maybe in Eddie's lifetime here at least.
Eddie, would you like to take a trip to the moon?
No, sir, I like it fine right here.
Soviet scientists launched the symbol of man's liberation from the forces which have hitherto bound him to Earth.
It's an important day in human history.
The launch of Sputnik is like the discovery of America by Christopher Columbus.
The launch of Sputnik is one of the greatest scientific moments in world history.
And in Moscow, the people of a great nation heard the news on their loudspeakers, read the news in their papers.
The Russians, who have a constant feeling of inferiority in the modern world, became terrifically elated when their country was able to win the race in getting a satellite up into space. This was one time they had beaten the West in all its propaganda about higher living standards. The Sputnik was something the Russians could now boast about, and they did.
Миллионы километров облетал искусственный спутник вокруг Земли, и всюду следят за ним неотступно.
We were convinced as Americans, because we had so convincingly won World War II, that we were the dominant power in the world. We had to be. Missiles were being built. We were practicing as if there was going to be a third world war. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, here was this first man-made satellite being orbited by our arch enemy. So this was an enormous event. It took you from the realm of theoretical science fiction to reality. It was a reality that human beings could send artificial satellites into space. And that changed everything. It was one of those moments in history where all of a sudden, all of your thought processes changed.